I still remember the day I stepped back into that old house, the one I'd left behind when I was 25, chasing a dream they told me was ridiculous. As I crossed the threshold, the familiar scent of burnt coffee and musty curtains hit me like a punch to the gut. But this time, I wasn't the same person they'd laughed at, mocked, called a fool for daring to believe I could change lives with what they called pseudoscience. No. Now I was a woman who'd stared down the abyss of professional ostracism, betrayal, and profound doubt, and had emerged on the other side with a new kind of success, one that had transformed barren lands into thriving ecosystems, proving beyond doubt that the impossible was just a matter of perspective. Let's rewind. I was a quantum physicist, once on the fast track at a prestigious university, chasing the cutting edge of quantum computing. But everything changed the day I uncovered the research team's biggest secret. They'd fabricated results to secure funding. When I blew the whistle, I didn't just face the academic fallout. I faced outright exile. They ridiculed me, called me unpatriotic, a dangerous outsider, and my own family, they called me crazy. They told me I'd failed before I even tried, that I was an embarrassment, something to be hidden, dismissed, buried. But deep down, I knew I was onto something. I had seen how quantum-enhanced algorithms could unlock new pathways in mental health, powerful, almost revolutionary tools to help people conquer their inner demons. I abandoned the suffocating world of academia, the echo chambers of skeptics, to develop therapy based on these algorithms. The beginning was brutal. Every setback, every failed prototype felt like a confirmation of their worst judgment. But I refused to quit. I poured every ounce of my soul into it, driven by a silent promise, to myself and to those suffering silently in the shadows. Years later, after relentless years of toil, adversity, and insurmountable doubt, I found myself standing in a lush, vibrant landscape I had transformed from barren soil into an oasis. Using my quantum algorithms, I had created a system that integrated mental health therapies with the fabric of nature itself, calming, restoring, nurturing. What once was dead ground now thrived with life, trees emerging where none had grown, streams flowing where there was once only dust, hope blooming where despair had rooted. Walking through this living testament to resilience, I knew one thing with absolute clarity. I had proved them wrong. Not with bitter words, not with arrogance, but with tangible, undeniable results. My work had helped thousands, no, millions, find peace, clarity, purpose. And I had finally come home, not just to my childhood house, but to the truth of who I was meant to be. The drive to return was fueled by one last thing, the need for closure, the raw emotional necessity to face the people who had doubted me, who'd called me foolish. I stood outside that house, heart pounding, the sun casting long shadows, knowing that everything I built was about to be revealed. I wasn't there to gloat. I was there to witness their faces. To see the moment they'd listen, really listen to what I had become. They saw me approaching, the woman they'd dismissed, the failure, the embarrassment. I could see their eyes widening as I stepped onto the porch. My presence was an unspoken challenge to all their judgments, their narrow-minded skepticism that had festered for so long. I took a breath, then spoke, calm, steady, powerful. "I'm here not just to show you what I've achieved," I said, "but to remind you of what you called impossible. You told me I'd fail, that I was a fool for dreaming beyond your limited understanding. But I turned my doubt into hope. I turned rejection into a revolution, not just in science, but in healing. And today, I want you to see the proof. These lands, these lives, transformed because I refuse to listen to your negativity. and instead followed my own truth. I gestured to the landscape I'd cultivated. Slowly, I watched their faces shift from skepticism to stunned silence. You could see it, the recognition, the dawning realization that they had been wrong, that their dismissiveness had been rooted in fear of the unfamiliar, in their own limitations. And then, something extraordinary happened. My father, who'd always been a man of simple beliefs, stepped forward, tears in his eyes. I never understood, he admitted, voice trembling. But I see it now. You didn't fail. You've built something beautiful. You proved us all wrong in the best way possible. In that moment, I felt a flood of emotions, gratitude, forgiveness, a quiet sense of victory. Not because I'd won in the traditional sense, but because I had finally shown them what real success looked like. Resilience, born of unwavering conviction, the courage to be different, and the power to heal. As I looked out at the lush world I had created, I understood a core truth. Success is not about avoiding failure, but about transforming failure into a foundation for something greater. Sometimes it takes facing our doubters, those who mock our dreams, to realize that the true measure of our worth lies in our ability to persevere and create something meaningful, something that changes lives. And here's the real lesson. What they called ridiculous, I turned into reality. I destroyed their limitations and rewrote the rules. I became a testament not just to science, but to the human spirit's indomitable drive to do better, to be better. No matter how dark the doubts cast shadows, the light of perseverance always finds a way. So I stand here now, a living proof that the greatest victories come from the courage to chase the impossible, even when everyone else says you're crazy. That's what makes the triumph genuine, profound, and ultimately mine. And I hope my story ignites a spark, reminding everyone listening that your dreams, your vision, your truth, no matter how ridiculous they seem, are worth fighting for. Because, in the end, the greatest success is simply becoming the person you were always meant to be.